No. He's not on Brad Pitt level.
Right. Oh, definitely. I mean, no one's on Brad Pitt level.
I know. Well, I know. Hi, and welcome to the SaVeg Podcast.
I'm Rose, also known as Cheap Lazy Vegan on YouTube.
And I'm Daniel, one of your favorite guest stars on Cheap Lazy Vegan's YouTube channel.
We're two friends who love to talk about the latest trending topics.
So get comfortable and join us while we give our savage take on just about everything.
You are currently listening to the previous episode of this podcast, but if you would like to listen to this week's episode and get some exclusive content, go over to patreon.com/thesavagepodcast.
Hello! Hello, everyone.
Hello.
And welcome to this week's episode of the SaVeg Podcast, the Christmas episode, I guess.
Is this the Christmas episode?
Well, it's probably not going out right on Christmas because I'll be having Christmas with my family. So probably the Boxing Day episode.
The Boxing Day episode. Wow. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah. Well, except that it's going to be for everyone else.
Merry late Christmas.
Merry late Christmas for the non-patrons.
Oh, so the patrons will get this like on the Christmas week.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you sure?
Yes.
Because when's Christmas?
Monday the 25th.
Yeah, but it's not.
And that's when this will go out on Tuesday. This will go out on Tuesday. And the other episode that we recorded.
Oh my God, Christmas coming up.
Yeah.
I literally thought there was like another week until Christmas.
Oh God, Rose, what are you doing?
Well, I've been sick for the last few days. I'm sick. Anyway. I've been sick for the last few days. Yeah. So I think it has warped my sense of time. That's usually Daniel, but...
No. No. What I want to show you. So I said, well, I'll show you after. But like I started
after the recordation.
After the recordation, but I mean, I'm fine to talk about it. Like I started like a blooper reel, and I haven't finished. There's still a lot of work to do on it. But like, there's like so many clips of like you just like banging your mic or like spilling,
and then
stuff.
You're looking at me like, you're gonna kill me.
Yeah.
Yee. All right, guys. So speaking of Patreon.
Yeah.
If you guys want to make sure you get the episodes at a timely fashion. Then make sure you subscribe to our Patreon account. Is patreon.com/thesavagepodcast. It starts as little as $3 a month. And you get every episode a week earlier than everyone else. You get bonus content every single month. So this month we're doing a drunken
Christmas episode.
So that's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
And then you also get ad-free content. So make sure you check it out. Patreon.com/thesavagepodcast. And you get shout outs.
Yeah.
Are there any new?
Not this week.
Okay. No shout outs this week. But yeah, if you join, you will get a little shout out in the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, make sure you check it out, you guys. So.
And you get access to our huge library of all of our
content.
Of bonus content.
Which is, there's so many now. So.
Yeah, there's like, I don't know, like 40.
Yeah. So if you're bored during the holidays, just subscribe and listen to all of them.
Yeah. Actually, guys, we got shook the other day because we were talking about on this podcast. We're like, yeah, we've been doing this podcast for like a year or 2 years. And I was like, no, Rose, it's been like 3 years. And then somebody commented.
Wrote it was 4 years.
So this month, actually, because we did start in December 2019. Oh my God.
That's insane to me.
Yeah.
Because I literally had to sit there when I read that comment. Yeah. I sat there and I was like, 2019. Is that 4 years ago? I was like, no, that must be mistaken. And I had to like count. I was like, no, it was 4 years. How has it been 4 years? This means it's been almost 4 years since the beginning of COVID.
Yes.
Actually, and it basically is 4 years because it kind of started in December.
It did, but technically when everything got crazy was March because that's when I remember
in
that.
A few months,
it will be 4 years.
4 years since the beginning of the craziness of COVID.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy to me. Like, I literally feel like the time... I don't even like. How has 4 years gone by?
True. I feel like I feel on both sides because like also sometimes I think
you feel like it's so long ago.
Yeah, because I also think like for example I feel like I've been back in Canada for a really long time, and then I like remind myself I'm like, well, hang on a second, I've actually only been back in Canada for like 3.5 years.
Does it feel like it's like only?
No, really? Like I feel like I've been here a little bit longer. Like,
really?
I feel like, just because like a lot's happened, you know. And then I look back, and I'm like, it's only been 3.5 years. Like,
maybe it's because this is why the theory is correct. It's because you've broken up your life a little bit, right? Because you had your segment in the UK, and then you came back here. So it's almost like. I don't know. I feel like that helps maybe slow down time in a way, maybe.
Which would make sense. That makes sense. Because like if you, for example, like, and I'm not saying like this is a lot of people's lives, but like, let's say you grew up in a town, you went to school in the town, go to university in the town, get a job in that town, get married, have kids, continue that job forever. until you retire.
Right.
Like, or have like similar jobs, but always in the same town, always in the same, you bought a house, you've been in the same house for 30 years.
Yeah.
Like it becomes like mundane. Like it becomes like part of your routine, which there's nothing wrong with this, but it does make time go by faster because if you're doing the same thing every single day, it all blends together.
Yes. This is what I'm saying. This is why we need to live our lives in segments, but I don't know how.
What segment are we in right now, Rose?
We're in the,
hating dating.
speaking of which, we did a mukbang video.
Oh, guys.
On my main channel. So Cheap Lazy Vegan, you guys go on Cheap Lazy Vegan.
You need to
on
watch
the
it.
YouTube channel. Okay.
Yeah.
And we just did a mukbang together, which is an eating show. And I think this is our best mukbang yet.
Guys, I have to like be honest here. So
Daniel died laughing.
I was fucking dying.
I was also dying while I was editing.
Yeah. I watched the first half, and the first half is still good, right?
Yeah.
And I was like,
But it's not
watched
as
it.
entertaining as the second half.
Exactly. And maybe I ran out of time or I was doing something else. So I was like, I'll watch the rest later. And then Rose like said something about the comments, or I don't know if you or something. And I looked at the comments.
Yeah.
And the comments were like, "Oh my god, this is so funny. The dating section is so funny." And I was like, I need to watch this properly.
Yeah.
So I started watching it.
But you were also high.
I was a little bit stoned, but I watched it again when I wasn't stoned, and it was
just
still
as funny.
Oh my god! Like I was
Are
like,
we allowed to laugh so much at ourselves?
I feel like we can.
Okay.
I feel like we can. So guys, really, you need to watch this mukbang. I think it will bring some joy into your lives.
Yes.
Me and Rose bicker so much at it, but it is so good. Like Rose is like, oh, I want to like, I can't think of an example. Be like, oh, I want to be dating. I'm like, Rose, you have to actually respond to messages. Like just so much shade.
Yes, you guys
and
need
like,
to watch it. It is up. We can link it below.
Yeah.
So we'll link it in the show notes if you guys want to watch the mukbang. It's a Christmas dinner, so if you want to eat Christmas dinner with us, fantastic.
Oh, it's so
There you
good.
go.
It's so good.
So anyways,
Yeah.
shall we jump into the stories?
I think we should jump in. Like, let's just dive right in there.
Let's dive right in.
And go into our first stories because there's some interesting stuff going on this week.
This episode is brought to you by Complement. Complement Essential is the ultimate multivitamin made for and by plant-based eaters.
Optimize your health with the 8 critical vitamins, minerals, and omega-3s. Proven hard to get through a plant-based diet alone, all in one easy-to-take capsule.
I've been taking Complement Essential for months now, and it makes it so easy to make sure I'm filling in all my nutrient gaps.
If you're looking for the multivitamin for plant-based eaters, make sure to check out Complement Essential.
Go to lovecomplement.com. That's LOVECOMPLEMENT.com and use code SaVeg Podcast, SAVEG Podcast, to get 15% off your order and save even more by subscribing so you never miss taking your vitamins. Be sure to check out their other awesome products like vegan protein powder, gut nurture, and daily greens.
Once again, that's lovecomplement.com and use the code SaVeg Podcast to save 15% off Complement products.
Thank you so much to Complement for supporting this podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, this one's actually pretty dark. I mean, they're all dark, guys. What's
Okay,
going on?
well,
It's Christmas.
This is okay. So sometimes today, this morning, I'm getting up, and sometimes when I'm getting up and I don't want to get up just yet, I play some random videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll be like, I follow a lot of news channels. So it'll be like, like YouTube news channels.
Yeah.
So it'll be like that. So I literally just clicked on some random video and it was like, 14 dead in Prague. And I literally was like, is there a city in the US called Prague? Because I knew there was, obviously I know Prague is in the Czech Republic, but I was like, there's no way it happened in Prague. So I was like, because sometimes there's a Paris in Alabama or something.
Or a London in Canada.
Ontario.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I literally was like, is there a city in the US called Prague?
Yeah.
But apparently it's not in the US. We're talking about Czech Republic here. I think. Let me just double check this. I think it is. Yes, Europe. So Prague in shock and horror after senseless shooting attack leaves 14 dead. Now, the reason why this is so shocking is because outside of the US, mass shootings are very not so common.
They don't happen as often.
They almost never happen. This is an exclusively US problem, okay?
Yeah. Well, it's because a lot of countries, again, generally have stronger gun legislation, so it works.
Apparently Prague was in shock and mourning Friday, which was just today. But I think this happened on the 21st.
So killed 14 and injured 25 more at Charles University. Goddamn, always universities and schools are targets.
Why is it always like this? I don't understand.
Because there's a lot of people there.
But it's
I think at those institutions, there's a lot of people.
What is the psychology though? I still genuinely do not understand. I guess it's a good thing I don't understand, but it's what is this psychology? Like, I need to kill as many people as possible. Like, what is that?
I don't know. I actually I took a sociology class, and there was a whole section on mass shooters.
Oh, really?
And I wish I could remember more from it, because there is like a very interesting like psychoanalysis.
Right.
Yeah, and there is reasons why. Like, I mean, with the school stuff, a lot of it is like they were bullied and shit happened to them, and then they like retaliated, some of that stuff. But like, it's not always that case. But anyway, sorry. Continue.
Okay, so it was the deadliest peacetime attack in the history of the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, Prague is a city in Czech Republic. I've been there. It is beautiful. And yeah, so I guess this was the deadliest thing, peacetime attack. I guess that means like when it's not in war. Because like, you know, Europe's been in lots of wars. I think that's what that means. So yeah, the brutal incident on Thursday was also the first ever school or college shooting in the Czech Republic. And so obviously everyone's like very shocked.
Yeah.
So it was Prague, a festive winter wonderland, just 24 hours before. It felt somber and empty on Friday morning. And it's almost Christmas time,
I know,
too.
that's what's so fucking sad.
Oh, God. We don't know much about...
It's all, I mean, obviously it's always sad, but like...
Especially during this time, it's even worse. So I guess the gunman was a 24-year-old man who was a student at the university, and he died by suicide. Police has not yet named him.
And this often happens as well with mass shooters, is quite often like...
They kill themselves?
Yes. I feel like it's a trend. Like, it's like they do this huge thing, and then they're just like, gone.
I feel like at that point, it's like... I'm more surprised when they don't kill themselves, because it's like...
True.
What do you have to live for at that point? Like, you know you're going to get caught. Like, you know you're probably going to do life in prison. In the States, you might get death penalty. Who the fuck knows?
I just like can't imagine how fucking scary it would be to like
Oh
be
my
at
God, I
university,
know.
like changing classes or something, like going through the halls and just like somebody opening fire.
Yeah.
Like how terrifying it would be. Like, and how much, if you're one of the lucky ones that survived, like the kind of trauma that you would carry with you.
I know, the trauma.
Like,
oh, I don't even...
It is surprising that this has happened.
I know. I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I don't know what the laws are with guns. I'm sure it's not that, like, lax, like, in Europe in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, like, they've never seen anything like this. This is, like a freak incident, okay?
Yeah. And I think also, too, quite often, well, actually, I don't know if it's quite often, but, like, again, like, you know, I don't want to say that Europe is, like, better. But generally, they have like more like socialist systems. They have more overall, like compared to when you compare to like North America, for example. And quite often, I think people, you know, if you need to seek certain support for things, there's a lot more of it. And so it's like that's probably also another reason why they have a little bit less gun violence and stuff.
Yeah, in some ways. I think it's getting worse now in general, but everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what this is. We don't actually know because we don't know the shooter. We don't know the reason for this happening.
And unfortunately, because the shooter killed themselves, we will never really know why.
Oh, God. Anyways, it's very sad. Like, just kill yourself. Sorry, but like, just kill yourself.
Exactly.
Like, why do you have to kill other people? Like, it's just... And these are people you don't even know. This is why I don't understand. I think a lot of it, like sometimes it's because they want the notoriety or whatever. Like they want to be famous. But I don't think that's always the case. Like I don't think they always want to be famous.
Yeah. There's obviously different reasons and trains of thought as to why. Like there's definitely that element of like they want fame. Like some people are out there and that's all they want and that's all they care about. Like this is interesting here, though. It says...
Yeah, I just saw that, too.
The Czech Republic has relatively liberal gun laws compared to the rest of the European Union. However, gun attacks are obviously rare. To obtain a gun legally, a person needs an official firearm license, which requires a medical examination, a weapon proficiency exam, and no previous criminal record.
Sounds pretty reasonable to me.
I would think so, but, you know, not according to our friends in the United States of America.
Oh, my God. It's actually insane to me that is, like...
Yeah.
That's considered, like, somewhat... You know, like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like that's the bare minimum. That should be the bare minimum. And in the US, that would be like all hell breaks loose if you try to bring that kind of legislation.
Was it Obama or somebody that was like talking to the Rifle Association or whatever it was? And they were talking about how, like, for example, if you want to drive a car, so a car can obviously kill somebody, right? If you want to drive a car, you have to get a license. You have to do an exam. You have to.
I doubt it was Obama that said that.
No, probably not Obama. But somebody was saying this. They're like, you
He
have
would
to
never
do.
say that.
No, true.
I don't think.
You have to do all of these things to like be able to operate a vehicle.
Yes.
That being said, obviously, some people still get in car accidents. Some people are still
Yes.
not responsible. But it decreases the chances if you just gave everyone a vehicle. You know what I mean? And said, hey, anyone can
Absolutely.
drive. And it's the same for guns. It's like this is a device that can kill people very
That is
easily.
designed to kill. That's
Exactly.
the only reason to have a gun.
So yeah, I don't think it's crazy for them to. Those should be minimum requirements for gun legislation. Like that should just
Yep.
be.
But apparently it's not.
God damn.
But yeah, I feel like now probably, judging by what we've seen in other countries other than the US, because they've had this situation, they will probably have even more strict laws.
Yeah, they'll probably crack down.
Yes, because like this often happens. Like I think in Australia they had like 1 or 2 mass shootings, and then they were like,
Fuck this shit.
yeah, fuck this shit, no more guns or some shit.
Yeah.
So other countries, like, because they don't have, you know, something like the NRA maybe, or is anything
Well, no,
as
and
strong as that.
also you have to remember it's in the Constitution your right to
Oh,
bear
yeah.
arms, right? So you don't want to fuck with the
Nobody
Constitution
wants to fuck with that Constitution.
that was written so many.
Years
This,
ago.
this is what's crazy to me about a lot of these
the
things. Like,
fucking Constitution.
okay, the U.S. Constitution, and don't get me wrong, I think there's some good stuff in there, right? Like there is some good things, but also like the Bible and all these other things.
Right. All of those are factored in.
Well, and all of that, these documents were created in a different time.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like in a completely different time.
I know.
And it's like, do you not think they need to be updated? Do you not think like, times have changed? Like back in the day, like, how there's like that verse in the Bible that's like, if a woman is, or if anyone is infidelity in relationship, they should be stoned to death or whatever it is, right? Like that was what was done back then.
I
know
know.
what I mean?
And we've accepted that that's not okay.
Exactly.
So
And
why
now-
is that changed, but certain things can't change?
But that's what I mean. The whole thing, there needs to be a revision.
know.
It's like with laws. Like law always has to be modified and changed because things change. Like look at technology now that we have. Like we have all this crazy shit, and it's like we can't expect to follow laws or follow certain principles or constitutions that were developed 200 years ago.
Things were so different.
Exactly. When it was like completely different world.
Agreed, Daniel.
And now
Preach.
we're in a whole new world, Rose.
Preach to the congregation.
A whole new
A new fantastic point of view.
beautiful.
Okay, next.
Next. What we be talking about next? Oh yeah, let's talk about that one.
Okay. Well, first let's talk about
Yes.
this again. This is gonna be old news. It's already kind of old news, but it's important. Okay, because some of you guys maybe you don't follow the news about this.
Yeah.
But we try to throw in a few little snippets about this lovely,
Israel-Palestine conflict, the ongoing
and obviously
saga.
I'm being sarcastic here. It is very tragic.
Yes.
So recently we found out. This came out like a few days ago.
Yeah.
And I was actually shocked that Israel actually admitted this, because usually they just lie.
Yeah.
Like they're very okay with just lying about everything. But basically, there were 3 Israeli hostages. And what have I said since day one? They do not give a fuck about the hostages.
No.
They've never given a fuck. They will never give a fuck. And this is proof, okay? So 3 Israeli hostages that were taken by Hamas.
Yeah.
They
tried to save some.
Yep, they tried to escape. They
Yeah.
tried to save themselves, only to be killed by the IDF, which is the Israeli Defense Forces. So
Yeah.
Israel shot their own hostages.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, they because they know, Israelis know that the IDF, they will just shoot. Okay, so
Yeah.
they probably know that they can't just leave and somehow not get shot. So they took off their shirts. They were shirtless, showing that they don't have a bomb. They don't have weapons.
Yeah.
And they were holding some kind of white flag or something to show that they're innocent, or
Yeah.
they're whatever, some kind of thing. And they and also one of them is a fucking ginger. Not to say that he looks Israeli. He doesn't look Palestinian. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they were speaking Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
They were shouting in Hebrew, being save us.
Yeah. With the white,
And they got shot.
especially the white flag. That's supposed to be a sign for surrender, right?
So 3 Israeli hostages that had been in captivity for 65 days when they received a glimmer of hope. A group of Israeli soldiers arrived at the building in Gaza where they were holed up with their captors. So again, first of all, there's other hostages that have died and stuff. And a lot of people, there's a lot of speculation, how they died. And, and also my entire point was, how can you bomb a place where you don't know where the fucking hostages are? You're just carpet bombing this place. If you care only about the hostages, even if you care just about the hostages, you wouldn't be bombing the way that they do.
Exactly.
Anyway, So I guess all this stuff happened.
So basically, So when that happened, they saw that glimmer of hope. They're like, oh, there's Israeli soldiers here.
Yes.
Let's get the fuck out of here. So you're right. They went out of the building. They took their shirts off, so they're bare chested to show
a makeshift white flag.
Again, to show that they have no weapons. They have no, nothing. And then they made a makeshift white flag. They walked out to try to walk to the soldiers, and the soldiers thought they were walking into an ambush and hadn't accounted for the possibility that there had been escaped hostages. But I'm like, are you not looking before you shoot? Like, are you just shooting anything that moves?
No, they're just shooting whatever.
Like
that sounds insane to me.
Yeah.
It's like this is a well-trained army. Okay, this isn't like just like someone's
me or you with a machine gun or something.
Exactly,
like not knowing what we're doing.
This should be a well-trained army, anyways.
Yeah,
and they just shot their own hostages. Like, this is crazy.
And they're so young too.
I
26,
know, it's so
28
sad.
and 24.
Like, come on. Can you imagine? You're like stuck in captivity.
Yep.
Or I don't know. You're like held captive for however many days. You're probably scared. And then you finally see like, oh my God, these are my guys. Like,
these are my guys.
No matter what we think about like Israeli government and their soldiers or IDF or like Palestinians, whatever. Like, these are people. Okay. These are people that are scared. Okay, and they think, okay, Israeli soldiers, they're gonna protect me.
Yeah.
They must know I'm Israeli because I kind of, I don't look Palestinian. Let's be honest. One of them doesn't. Anyway, two of them you can't really tell.
Yeah.
But also, like, I'm not wearing a shirt. I'm gonna speak Hebrew. We're gonna hold a fucking white flag.
Yeah.
What more could they possibly have done?
Exactly.
How are you gonna say you care about hostages ever?
Exactly. And also, it's like they said they think they're walking into an ambush, but like, especially if they're not wearing.
How are they walking into an ambush?
But this is the thing. And also you would be able to see if they had weapons on them.
And what's so crazy is like, let's be fucking honest. Like, they know for a fact that like most of these people in Palestine, they don't have weapons. You know what I'm saying? Like stop. Like, let's stop pretending that, it's a fair fight. Stop pretending that they have the same, resources that you do. So anyways, it's so sad. Like they fucking just got killed. Like, can you imagine you're trying to escape and then they just get shot? And I think according to what I saw, I can't remember. I don't know if this article says, but like two of them that got shot, and then one of them was like, I think they were. Oh wait, it says they used food to stain a cloth with the words "Help 3 hostages" written in Hebrew. Again, they were just not paying any attention. It seems like,
as well as SOS to alert the IDF of their location.
And an Israeli drone captured video of the signs hanging from a building, but the battalion that was there at the time marked the building as a potential trap. Okay. Anyway, like,
a sniper positioned more than 100 yards away fired the shots that killed the 3.
Yes, no, the
killed
2 of
2
them,
and wounded 1.
And then wounded Haim, and Haim ran back inside the building and called out for help in Hebrew.
Yeah.
The battalion commander held fire, but when Haim re-emerged in the doorway, another soldier, against the orders of the commander to not fire, shot him dead.
What the fuck?
What the actual fuck? Like, are you okay? Why are you shooting? Like,
the soldiers reportedly said they had not fully understood their commands.
oh my God.
Don't shoot.
Anyway, I'm shocked that they even acknowledged it because, again, usually they would just lie. They lied about so many different things. Like, we haven't even covered half the shit that they lied about. Like, they lied about this one. They, like, captured a bunch of men. They, like, made them go all shirtless and stuff and basically humiliated this huge group of people, saying that they were, like, all Hamas, even though, like, it was proven that, like, the majority were not Hamas. Like, they were, like, not Hamas.
Yeah.
And this one guy, there was, like, a video of a guy, like, taking a gun. Like, basically, Israel posted this video of a guy holding a gun, and he was, like, putting the gun like basically surrendering the gun. Okay, that's what it is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
So he's surrendering the gun, being like, oh, like, yes, this is my gun. But then there's 2 sets of videos apparently, because it's on one video he's holding it in one hand, and in the other video but they're doing the same, as in they're doing multiple takes of him surrendering the gun. But in one video he's holding it in one hand, and another video he's holding it in another hand. So essentially that's like the proof that there's 2 takes. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
Because why is he surrendering the gun twice? Why is the same person surrendering the gun twice? So again, like, that's another lie. He wasn't part of Hamas. That was already, like, again, like, just so many lies.
Well, it's like here's another quote from this.
Yeah.
It says it's super important to understand the psyche and the combat environment these soldiers are in, citing instances of units encountering Hebrew messages believed to be traps, and then it doesn't go any further. Incidents of women and children approaching IDF soldiers with white flags when Hamas snipers were lying in wait.
Okay, so when has that ever happened?
NBC News has not independently verified these accounts.
Yeah, so when has that ever happened?
Well, exactly.
Like, please prove that that's happened.
Yeah.
And also, like, it's okay, why don't they just let them in then? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, anyway.
Yeah. If they like,
They're coming in with no, like, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, come on. This is so crazy. Like, there's no, anyway, like, it's fucked up. But anyway, and I heard like one of the dads of one of the victims, he was like doing an interview and he was like, yeah, I can't remember exactly what he said, but basically he's like, yeah, the Israeli soldiers, what did they say? I think he said like, yeah, the Israeli government killed my kid twice. Or like failed my kid twice. So the first time when he let them like kidnap them in the first place.
Yeah.
Because did we talk about this? They knew about this attack a year ago.
Yeah. We did talk about it.
So they knew about this exact attack, very like specific to the point.
Yeah.
A year ago, didn't do anything about it, which adds to my suspicion that they kind of wanted this to happen.
Yeah.
So anyways, so and like Israelis know that like this should have not happened. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So like they do blame, like no matter where we are in this whole like debate about whether or not this whole thing, you know, the occupation and stuff, they still like, you know, their whole thing is they're not being protected by their government because, you know, obviously this shit is happening. So first of all, he's like, yeah, my son got killed twice. The first time when he got abducted and second time when he was killed by his Israeli soldiers. Like,
right.
How, like, come on.
Exactly.
Anyway.
It's crazy.
It's insane. They don't give a shit about their own hostages,
ugh.
let alone the Palestinian people.
It's wild. Now, let's another
thing to
talk about what's going on.
So I guess there was a politician.
Yeah.
You can start this story.
Yeah. Hang on.
Oh, it's a Twitter thread. Okay, so that's one. So a politician named Fetterman.
Yeah. So
there you go.
So Fetterman, basically, he's a Democrat, or he like allegedly he's a little bit left wing. You know, allegedly he supports like universal health care and certain, I think also increasing the minimum wage.
Every left wing issue, maybe except for this one. So he is he's been under a little bit of fire lately and a little bit of controversial items going on because number one, he doesn't support the ceasefire in the Israel and Palestine conflict. But part of the reason why I wanted to talk about this story, which I think is really interesting when we can kind of talk about it, like this piece of it, is he went out on this Tuesday and basically he blamed the social media app TikTok. And he said that TikTok is giving young people a warped view of the Israel-Hamas war. Now, the reason I wanted to dive into this is because this brings up an interesting topic in a sense that, like, you know, you kind of talked about this too, Rose. Is like you said, in the morning you get up and you have your YouTube news that you're watching. Yeah.
And we obviously, like, I go on TikTok a lot too. Like, you see things on TikTok. Now, I have two views on this.
Okay. What are the views?
And I think, okay.
What are the views? I think I know what the views are, but what are the views?
Okay. So on one hand, I'm like, I think that social media is great because I think that what happens is you can see things almost in a more unfiltered way, like in terms of like anybody can post videos on TikTok. So we're seeing like Palestinians being able to live stream, do all this stuff. So you can actually see what's going on versus when we were growing up, we would only see what's on the news and it would have like a spin or it would say, this is what's happening. And you would believe that because you'd say, hey, that's coming from the news and but they have a point of view, right? So there's that side where I'm like, I think it's really useful in terms of seeing what's actually happening on the ground and people can film and do whatever. On the other side, though, where there's some issues is there is a lot of like misinformation, right? And there's a lot of misinformation that gets perpetuated through social media. People share it. It goes viral. And pardon me, there might not be any truth to it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not saying that that's about the Israel-Hamas conflict, but I think that's why there's these back and forth issues. I don't think people's warped views are based on TikTok. I think it's based on what the fuck is going on there. And
exactly.
I do think social media has helped in this particular, because I've always, and I think we talked about this last time, every time, like always throughout our life, there's been this huge conflict in Israel, right? And I remember as a kid, like not even learning about it, but hearing about it. And it was always, I remember being that Israel side, right? Like it was like, oh, like the Hamas is like attacking them.
Right.
Palestinians are crazy, all this stuff.
Right.
And
they're
that was
the terrorists.
They're the terrorists. And that was kind of the narrative we got for a really long time. I feel like lately, like at least this most recent thing that's happened is we've actually seen a lot of support happen for Palestine. And we've had a lot of support and asked calls for ceasefire, because people are actually able to see, the bigger picture with social media and everything else. So I think in this particular instance, it's been helpful. I'm not saying that everything on TikTok is real, and there's going to be obviously some shit that's made up, but I think it's helped to kind of create a, not a narrative, but to help see and see both sides.
Yes. That's the thing. I mean, what he's saying, like, yes, he's blaming TikTok for people being pro-Palestinian because he thinks that gives them a warped view. Yeah. I would say yes. TikTok helped. I would say TikTok helped. You know what I mean? Like with people to see, because normally mainstream media, but I would say, okay, mainstream media normally, historically has always been, especially Western media, has always been on Israel's side, right? This is why we always had this view. It was always, it's so complicated. Yeah. Oh, like they're fighting for no reason. And that, in my opinion, that's Israel's side. Because if you're saying it's complicated, you're not acknowledging the power imbalance, okay? So it's always been like, only the mainstream media gets to tell the story. Yeah. So, and you have to realize that mainstream media is owned by a few people. Yeah. Okay. There's only a few powerful people that have like money to own whatever. And I'm not saying this isn't some Jewish conspiracy. Okay. I'm just saying a lot of people have a lot of money and they have, there's money going around. There's lobbyists or whatever. So there's a lot, that we can't control. Yeah. Okay. And so we only have seen a certain view. And now this time, regular schmegular people that are literally living in Gaza can show us what's happening. And if we didn't have that, journalists weren't allowed to go in without like Israel's, what do you call it?
What is it called?
Supervision.
What's it called?
Supervision. Though? Israel's, whatever. Approval, like whatever.
Fuck, is
there a term?
There is a term when you're like taken by somebody. It's like if you went to like North Korea, for example, you're like escorted almost.
Like a guide.
I guess, I don't know. I can't remember the word, but there's
whatever.
What's the word, guys?
So basically, I don't think that we would have seen half the things that we've seen, and I think thanks to that, actually, we've seen a little bit more better journalism from actual mainstream as well. I don't know if it's thanks to TikTok, but I think that's partially
put pressure on it as well.
It's put pressure because you can't lie anymore. And the fact is, like, you're right that, like, yes, I do think it is easy for, like, false narratives to go crazy on social media, and that is definitely one of the negatives of it.
That's the big negative.
But at the same time, for example, like, mainstream media also lies. Like, I remember when, like, first this whole situation happened, and the first lie that, like, some random journalist on, like, I don't know where it was, CNN or whatever the fuck, was like, oh yeah, and then there were pictures of 40 beheaded babies, and then this whole thing just went crazy. Biden said it. He's like, oh, I just saw pictures of 40 beheaded babies. And like everyone's talking about how like Hamas beheaded 40 babies. I'm not saying Hamas did angelic things. I'm not saying they didn't kill people, but when you say something like 40 beheaded babies, like how like insane does that sound, right?
It sounds crazy.
So that is a way to push a narrative, and there has been no proof of 40 beheaded babies. Like, trust me, if they had, if the Israeli army had proof that there were 40 beheaded babies, believe it, that they would have fucking blasted that shit out there. There's no doubt in my mind. Yeah. So there is no proof of it, and yet that spread all on mainstream media. So don't tell me that the only place that there's misinformation is like TikTok. Yeah. Okay. And at least with TikTok, there's like very quick like verification, and there could be, some ways of like people, talking about things more. Yeah. Whereas like, mainstream media often, like, this is how propaganda happens. Like you say something like this, like 40 beheaded babies, and people just continue to spread that narrative even after it's been proven to be wrong, because what the retraction is never as big as the initial statement. Yeah. So you initially say it, but then later on you're like, oh no, I take it back. But then how many people are going to see the part where you said I take it back?
Right. It doesn't have the same impact.
Exactly. Anyway, this guy, he's for sure taking money from AIPAC. Like I heard. I mean, again, fact check it.
It's on Reddit.
It's on Reddit, so fact check it, guys. Yeah. So John Fetterman took 2,444. No, 200.
Let me say it for you, Rose. $244,100 from
AIPAC, which is like the American Israeli Alliance or whatever the fuck it is. And that's where basically, if you take money from them, you really can't say shit about Israel ever. Yeah.
And that's apparently the going rate for a U.S. senator.
Oh my God.
Because apparently you can buy them.
Israel is like big oil. They take American taxpayer money in the form of aid. See, this is the thing. again, a lot of politicians are bought by these lobbyists, okay? And this is why they stand for what they stand for. They don't really stand for anything. They just get paid to stand for something. And so they can never like criticize. And again, it's not about criticizing Jews. I hate this. I hate this narrative. Like, it's about Israeli government, okay? Criticizing the Israeli government and what the Israeli government is doing. But apparently we can't do that. Oh my God. It's just, what is this?
Did you see that?
My account has been suspended for suspicious activity.
What have you been posting?
What did I do?
What have you been posting on Reddit, Rose?
You mean my foot pictures are suspicious?
I think links to your OnlyFans. That's what's been kicking off.
I thought it was 18 plus.
Oh, God damn. Actually, it's funny because we're talking about...
I've literally done nothing on Reddit.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, fact check that about John Fetterman.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's very like it's come out that he was like talking about this and how TikTok's warped everyone's views on Israel Hamas. What are your thoughts, guys? What's your thoughts on social media? And if you think it's a good thing for news, or if you think it's like, do you think the pros outweigh the cons? Basically,
Yeah.
I think the pros do outweigh the cons. I think the fact that this whole situations happened, I think it really has been a positive. Like, it's shown social media in a positive light. I do think obviously there's that misinformation piece that's really like difficult to combat. So I think that can be kind of an issue as well. But speaking of Canadian broadcasting companies,
Oh God.
there was a story recently. I want to talk about this one because I think it's also topical and something we talk about a lot. I'll pull up the story.
Okay.
So this is what happened. So CBC is the Canadian broadcasting company.
Yes.
And I guess there was an interview with the CEO. This is the CEO right there.
Okay.
And basically, they had to cut, like, you know, there's been a lot of layoffs happening this year in a lot of companies. I guess CBC has not, been
Profitable?
not profitable. No, that's not what has not been spared from this. They've also had to lay off people, I guess.
Yeah. So they cut 10% of workforce.
Yeah. So they cut 10% of their workforce.
Or they will cut.
Yeah.
It says to cut.
Yeah, they will cut. And it was interesting because there was an interview, and actually I saw a clip of it. I wish like I had it here. But anyway, they were like having this interview, and they asked the CEO.
Sure.
And they were like, "Hey, just wondering. Obviously, you're having to lay a lot of people off. Like, this is a troubling time. It's really tough. Does that mean that you guys aren't gonna get your bonuses? Like, are you gonna get your bonus?
Yeah.
Are you gonna get a bonus this year?"
And she said,
I can't actually. We haven't
Comment on
we
that?
haven't reviewed like the pay structure and what we're doing in terms of like bonuses and stuff, but they're putting some pressure on obviously CBC. I don't know, it's
to not be doing that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She said, where was it? We are aware of concerns. I want to see the actual quote because it was like really funny where she was
Maybe if you go down a little bit. Oh yeah. It's too early to say where we are for this year. Even though they've already decided to lay off 10%.
Well, exactly. That's when you're like.
So that decision is very easy to make.
Yeah, but the bonus decision, it's too early to determine.
Too early to decide how much money we're gonna get.
Yeah, we'll be looking at that like we do all our line items in the coming months.
Oh my God! I honestly just the audacity of these people.
I know.
So it says here that so between 2015 and last year, more than 99 million was paid out in bonuses to employees at the public broadcaster.
Yeah.
Including 16 million paid to more than 1,000 employees in 2022. Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, like
that's not too bad.
Exactly, but anyway, I do feel like, and the reason, again, this is another not topical story, but kind of, I just think it's really interesting that we have all these companies doing these mass layoffs. All like so many of them this year, and I just feel like if you're laying off like such a large percentage of staff, you're impacting so many people's lives.
I know.
And I you know what, maybe the business has to make that decision, maybe it's a tough decision, but at the same time,
not that tough.
I know. At the same time, how can you make that decision and then at the same time give the like executive
give bonuses
team, give these like massive bonus, like it just doesn't add up. Like that should be illegal. Like you should not be allowed to do that. Like and especially CBC. I mean, like CBC is like a Canadian.
Yeah, isn't it a government media company?
I think it's like partly public, partly private. Like I think that's probably why there's like a little bit of gray area.
Right.
But like even the publicly traded companies, like I don't think like as a business you should be able to lay off, because if you think about it from the government standpoint, right? Mass layoffs cost us all money, because what's going to happen to all those people while they're looking for work?
Yeah, they're going to be on EI.
Exactly.
Employment assistance.
They're using government funds. So the government it's in all of our best interest, guys, for the government to put in legislation to say, hey, you know what? if you have to make the layoffs, you have to make the layoffs. Like we're going to let your company run your company, you know? However, if you make a layoff of X number or X percentage of your staff, this exec team is not allowed to have bonuses.
I know, totally.
And then
or like shareholders, like there needs to be something.
Or we're not allowed to pay dividends to shareholders.
Yes.
Do something crazy, right?
It's not even crazy. What's crazy is the current situation.
I know. And I think the funny thing is like, it's just wild to me that, like, again, there's not legislation in place for this, because I know that they're publicly owned companies and a lot of people were like, let the companies operate and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we're not talking about how they're operating. We're talking about their compensation structure, right? Like, and I really feel strongly about this because I'm like, you know,
very into this topic.
I am, because I think it's
which I understand.
Yeah, it's crazy because you're seeing it more and more. And I was saying about how, you know, not, you know, bringing it back to doom and gloom, but like we're having
it's your favorite topic, Daniel.
It is. We're having all these mass layoffs, all these huge companies laying off tens of thousands of people this year. And that's so many more people that aren't working, that aren't contributing to the economy, that are using government benefits, which is all of our taxpayers for everyone else that's working.
And this just slows down the economy.
Exactly. It's slowing down the economy. We're seeing it in consumer spending. We're seeing it. And these corporations, they just don't seem to see the bigger picture. Like if they're profitable, like if you have a profitable organization, right? You don't really, like, if you're profitable into billions of dollars, do you really need to lay off people?
Exactly.
Even if you have some like kind of lazy people on the team, annoying people on the team,
exactly.
Like maybe a couple people you can fire for whatever reason, but you don't actually have to lay people off. But and actually you're going to do more harm than good, because the more people that are laid off, maybe they're not buying your products.
Exactly. I don't understand.
It's a snowball effect.
It's very common sense, but apparently people don't care.
No.
Like,
they don't care at all.
It's very depressing.
It is. But anyway, so I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
And honestly, you should have seen the interview with her, because the way she said
it go viral?
I think it did.
Bit.
Like, I'm pretty sure I saw it on TikTok, and that's what sparked it. And then I looked at it more and I was like, oh my God, this is so funny. But the fact that she's like, the fact that they've just laid off people and then they ask about the bonuses, and she has the audacity to say, well, it's actually too early to say where we are with that this year. And it's like, well, it wasn't.
And these are bonuses, not like, obviously people should get paid their salary.
Of course.
But we're talking about their bonuses. This is extra money.
Yeah.
So it's like you're laying off 10% of your workforce, but you're going to pay people bonuses?
I think, you know, it's going to be...
Come on.
I think that there's going to be I bet you after this interview, she's probably like, fuck.
She's probably gotten some backlash.
Yeah, and she's probably thinking like, fuck, if we pay ourselves bonuses, we're going to get so much backlash.
Do you really need to? Like, how much are you making, girl?
Well, they said her salary was estimated to be like $450 to like $600K a year.
Oh, okay. It's less than what I thought.
Yeah. Well, no,
but I guess it's it's a lot. Don't get me wrong.
It's still good money. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It's a lot of money, but like, you know, like you hear, again, this is how warped my perception is.
Yeah.
Because you hear, you know, people making like, I don't know, millions of dollars a year.
You know what they do though? So this is another thing that's kind of like interesting.
They have stock options.
This is what they do. Exactly.
Yes.
So most senior exec salaries, they're high. They can go up to about like $1 million or maybe 1.5 million.
Right.
Salary. That's their salary portion.
Right.
But this is another fucked up thing, guys. So like if you think about the way comp structure works, right? So obviously a cash bonus you get taxed on. Your salary you get taxed on. But in the past, executives all got stock options. Tons and tons of stock options, because you only get taxed on 50% of it.
Right.
Because if you exercise your stock option, you get taxed on 50% of the gain.
Yeah, I read something about this like as well, like a few days ago, about how like, rich people, this is how they get around like not paying taxes.
Exactly.
Someone was explaining something about Elon Musk.
Yeah, they still pay tax, but they pay a lot less.
Yeah, and like he was like, they were saying how like, like really their salary is like this low, but then they like take out loans or something.
Yes.
And then the collateral is like their company.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly how they basically like they don't give themselves a salary.
Yeah.
So then it's like, oh, how are you going to pay for like stuff?
Yeah.
And then they take out this huge loan, and because they have like a huge company behind it, they have huge collateral.
Yeah.
So they can take out whatever loan.
Yeah.
And then I guess the interest, like compared to like how much it would pay for taxes, is nothing. So like anyway, it was like a whole like system.
There's a system, and this is why you know when you heard in COVID, they're like, oh, some of these executives are taking pay cuts and stuff. But like again, like obviously I'm not talking about all exactly. I'm not talking about all executives, but like generally a lot, like a vast majority of their comp, actually like most of it is in like shares, stock options, you know, all this other stuff where you can kind of like play around, you know, and like you said, take out a loan based on like, let's say you have so many stock options, you can like take out a loan based on that, use that to pay for things, and then like manipulate that around with taxes. God. Yeah, like it's I don't know the full intricacies of it, obviously, but like It's just messed up. So like actually majority of the salaries, like if you look at, and this for any publicly traded company, you can look up a CEO or anyone and see what their salary is. And generally the salaries actually, like some of them are not that high, like 500K, 600K
which is
year,
already high.
Which is already, exactly. It's like, that's so much money. You don't need more than that. You don't need more than that.
They probably don't take more because they're just going to get taxed a shit ton.
Because think about it this way. When you get paid income, and this is another thing too.
You're taxed on income tax.
You're taxed on 100% of what you earn.
And then when you earn, like, especially in Canada, our income tax is relatively high.
Yeah.
So like if you earn, I think past 100K, like whatever you earn past 100K is taxed like, I don't know, 40, 50%.
A lot more.
It's quite
a
lot.
Yeah.
But again, you're still taking home, like, even if my entire 500K salary
is taxed more,
taxed at 50%, I'm still taking home $250,000 a year.
Exactly.
That's a year. Like,
and it's a progressive tax rate, right? So you're
you're
not
like, actually being taxed 50%.
Exactly.
You're being taxed.
The first 30,000 you get taxed at a certain rate, then at a certain rate.
This annoys me when people are like, "Oh my god!" Like I get it, it is high. Don't get me wrong, but it's like you're making $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like,
or $1 million, for example. Like you're making $1 million a year. Like and again, that's why and it's interesting though because there has been some legislation in place. Like Canada did it recently,
right?
Where you can only get a certain amount in stock options now per year and get that benefit.
Okay, that's good.
So it's a 200K limit, so you can get granted 200K, and then anything over that gets taxed at 100%. So,
but you know what the issue is with this?
What's
I
the issue?
agree. What's the issue? I agree with legislations, all that stuff. The problem is because we're living in such a global economy.
Yeah.
When you live in a country like Canada, where we have more legislation, we have more taxes.
Yeah.
The people that are greedy, that want more money, are just naturally going to go to the U.S. where there's less legislation, which means until we have a global system where, you know, it's kind of like fair and balanced across, which is never going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
But because we don't have that, unfortunately, because of the system that is in place, people that are going to benefit the most from capitalism are going to go to the States, and that's going to leave us with it's going to leave us with less, which is why probably we're having issues with our own media because like all our talent goes to the US, they can make more money there.
Exactly.
Well, they're going to go to US.
And then it's even an issue within the US. Like look at what's been happening with California, right? Like because California generally has higher tax.
They go to Texas.
They go to Texas, right? So you have all these like, so they'll still, and this is what's bullshit though, they'll still run the company from California, right? Like they'll still be employed in that company.
That should be illegal.
But they're like their home base working remotely, and then they might fly in.
Yeah.
So like for example, this is another, again, there's all these loopholes, right? So when I was working in the UK, for example, so obviously part of the UK there's like the Channel Islands, so one of them is Jersey,
which is like tax free,
which is like a tax haven basically, right? And it was funny because the company that I worked at was based in London, the head office was in London, our CEO, one of our other senior directors all lived in Jersey. And they would fly. They would do most of their meetings remote. We did have an office in Jersey, all this stuff, but they actually worked with their secretaries. And if you live in Jersey, you have to work a certain number of days in Jersey to qualify for that for that 0% tax, right? Right. So or whatever maybe it's a low. Maybe I think it is 0. But so if you work in London or in the mainland for too many days, you'll get taxed a UK rate.
Right.
For your income. So they were so smart about it. They had it down to the day. So they would fly to London for meetings and they would be in London for meetings, but they would only do a certain number per year so that they didn't get taxed the UK rate.
Right.
Like there's all these
all these loopholes.
And this is the thing. And you're always going to get that if you have places such as Jersey and you have these like tax havens. That's why people like create shell companies in all these other countries.
It's all messed up.
Yeah. And it shouldn't be allowed, right? Like if a company, and this is the thing with companies too, as they get more digital and more, you don't have to have a head office in Canada. You could operate in Canada, have a head office somewhere else, don't pay proper taxes, siphon the money to Bermuda.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they do, aren't they?
Exactly. And that's where legislation has to catch up. That's where legislation has to come in and be like, you're right, have a level playing field for everybody.
Oh, it's just, it's very frustrating.
It is. But anyway,
next story. What we got?
Next story.
I guess we can talk about.
I think it's this
one. So.
Oh god! Oh
so
god!
This guy has been going viral all over my TikTok. His name is Matt Rife. Have you guys heard of this man? So apparently, so I remember seeing him like months ago.
Yeah.
He like showed up on my TikTok.
Yeah.
He's like a comedian. Okay, so he does stand up comedy, and I remember like the first video I saw of him was him basically like talking about how he's like good looking, and that's like hard in I don't know.
Yeah.
He's like making a joke about how like being good looking is not good in comedy, whatever.
Yeah.
He's not bad looking. Don't get me wrong. Like he's relatively decent looking.
Yeah.
But like for me, it's like he's just not funny.
No.
Anyway, he became huge on TikTok.
He like blew up
because he's a good-looking guy and he's a comedian. Okay,
but this is the thing. I think everyone's like, "Oh my God, Matt Rife." They're like, "He's so hot," blah blah blah, and I'm like, he's not actually that hot.
He's okay.
He's not bad. Don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not saying that he's bad looking. He's not. Like he is a good looking guy.
Good looking. Yeah.
But he's not like this. They're putting him like they're like. I feel like people are talking about Matt Rife like Brad Pitt. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm like, no. He's not on Brad Pitt level.
Right. Oh, definitely. I mean, no one's on Brad Pitt level.
I know. But I know. But like, I'm just saying, like, even there, I'm like, okay, like he's not bad looking.
I think it's because like it is because in comedy usually most people are not good looking. So I think like that sounds really bad,
that does
but it's kind of true. Like, because like, I don't know. I feel like most, like to be an actor, you kind of have to be good looking. Sometimes to be a singer, you have to be good looking. But with comedy, it's almost like, and he's kind of right. Like sometimes it's like a hindrance. Maybe it's not a hindrance. Maybe they just say it's a hindrance.
Yeah.
In my experience, the good looking comedians, there's a few. They're just not funny. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're just not that funny. Like, if you were just as hilarious and good looking, like, it would not be a hindrance, but you're just, like, not as funny. Like, there was this guy, what's his name? He's, like, this brown guy. Hassan? Is that his name? No, not Hassan.
I don't want to say Russell Peters.
No, not Russell. No, he's funny and he's not that good looking.
No, true.
There's another guy. He had his own Netflix special as well.
Yeah.
And he was, like, really famous. And he's, like, pretty good looking.
Yeah.
I didn't find him that funny. Some people I might, but I did not find him that funny.
I find it hard because like I've actually watched a few of the Netflix specials of comedians.
Yeah, I think his name's Hassan.
And I honestly haven't gotten into like a lot of them. Like, there's been a few, and I'm like, oh, it's okay, because like I remember like I've been to some like really good comedy shows.
Yeah.
Honestly, like some really good ones. I remember there was a Just for Laughs here in Calgary, and I went to it. It was amazing. Like,
Hassan Minhaj. You've seen this guy.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
he's like kind of good looking.
Yeah, he's not bad looking.
I remember being like, oh, he's kind of hot, but he's just not funny.
Yeah. But like, I feel like those Netflix specials, I don't know if it's like awkward or something, but like even funny comedians doing Netflix specials.
Do you think it's awkward?
I'm like,
do you think it's too much of a production?
I think that's part of it.
I think it's
like,
why?
Yeah.
I feel like comedy is like funny when you're kind of like in like a dingy, you know, when it's like a theater performance, like it's a little bit awkward sometimes.
Definitely. And you know, like, for example, I did go to one, for example, I went to a comedy show in London, and it was drag queens. And I'm
sure that's so funny.
The main comedian was Bianca Del Rio. And let me tell you,
I would have died.
That shit was fucking hilarious. Like, I was dying.
Yes, I would have loved to be there.
Oh, and this was before I was into Drag Race.
Yeah, you didn't even know.
I'm quite sad because like I've since obviously got
got you into Drag Race.
Well, not really. It was like somebody at work. They like, I remember someone at work like this was years ago, and I like ended up watching a few episodes with my flatmate, and then me and her became addicted. And then I went through like a Drag Race phase. I'm not I don't watch it as much anymore.
Right.
But I remember season 6. It is still my favorite season.
Yeah.
With Bianca Del Rio.
Yeah. Still your favorite season.
Oh, it's just so fucking good. It was.
Yeah.
I mean, Bianca really made that season.
Yeah.
Like all the ad libs and stuff. Like, you even loved it. I remember.
I loved it.
You would like quote her.
I got really into it. Yeah.
You're like, tell me something you're good at quickly. tell me something you're really successful at really quickly or something. I can't remember the quote, but I wish I knew that now, and I wish I knew some of the Drag Race characters, because even some of the jokes, not all of them I got, because some of them were about characters, and I'd never seen it. But now going back, it would have been so much more funny.
It would have been hilarious.
Yeah. But anyway, Matt Rife.
So Matt Rife. So he got into some hot water. So basically he became really successful on TikTok. He got so many followers. And again, it's probably because he's like pretty good looking.
Yeah, and I think he has a really nice body.
He has a nice body. And like he does, like, he works the crowd and stuff.
Yeah.
Again, I never found him that funny, but like whatever. Everyone has different comedy taste, whatever. But like he genuinely became famous because he's like good looking.
Yeah.
Anyways, he got this Netflix special. And I guess like most of his demographic, because he's a good looking man, is female. Okay, like it's mostly women.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we got this Netflix special, and like I guess I haven't watched it, but I saw the clip about this joke, and I was like, oh my god, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
So basically, he made a joke about a domestic violence against women. And it was like within the first few minutes. So he basically said something like, I remember he's like, oh, I saw a woman with like a black eye, and maybe if she learned to cook. Okay, what was the joke? Hold on, it might
Does
be
it actually have it in here?
Here it is. Okay, so at the beginning of Matt Rife, Natural Selection, that's the name of his comedy special.
Oh, God.
He tells a story about being served in a restaurant by a woman who has a black eye, to which he joked, yeah, but I feel like if she could cook, she wouldn't have that black eye. And then he said, and then obviously it was like, you know, the reaction was like not that great, because that's the thing is, It's not funny.
No.
Like, here's the problem.
If it was funny,
That's the thing.
great.
That's the thing. So a lot of people are saying, so he did this special and then he got like a lot of backlash for it.
Yeah.
And then of course he goes on this like rant about how, you know, like, oh, people can't take a joke anymore. You know, the whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
Which in some ways I understand, but like, he's basically like, oh my God, people are so offended, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like, and he's like, you know, doubling down on how like, you shouldn't be so offended at a joke. But then people are like, well, you know, listen, people tell very offensive jokes all the time.
Of course.
The problem is when your joke isn't as funny as it is offensive, there's the problem.
That's the problem.
Right? Like
Yeah.
if it was just as funny, because I've heard some like worse jokes than this, like for sure, about like some crazy shit.
Oh, yeah.
And people don't get into shit.
Yeah.
But it's because it's like actually really fucking funny.
It's not like, oh, like this is kind of like such a lame joke. Oh,
yeah.
I bet you I feel like if she could cook, she wouldn't have that black eye.
It's basically like, oh, I told her to go make a sandwich.
Yeah.
Like, it's so stupid.
Like
Like, it's not funny.
Like nobody would.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just offensive. Like, it's not
Yeah.
even funny. So that's the thing. That's where you have to like make sure it's like just as funny. Like, did you not test this out with like
Yeah.
a, you know, like you're doing a Netflix. This is what's crazy to me.
Yeah.
You're doing a Netflix special. Okay. Most comedians would have tested all their jokes
Yes.
in like random comedy clubs to see like how it
see
would
the
land.
see the reaction.
But anyway, this
Yeah.
like sparked a bunch of, you know, but again, like maybe it's a good thing that it sparked all this backlash because you know what they say, like no publicity is bad publicity.
Yeah, true.
And he's just very, and a lot of people are saying like, I can't believe like you would make a joke about, you know, about like women when your entire audience is women. And apparently he's always wanted like a more male audience. And so that's why he's trying to like pivot in that direction,
Yeah.
but clearly he's not funny enough.
I know because I honestly don't find him that funny.
I don't, and
I never have.
I think he has like an insecurity about it, like because he's probably always wanted to be like a respected comedian.
Yeah.
But now he's finally become successful, and he knows it's because of his looks.
Yeah.
Now that because I don't think he was like as again like he's not that great, but like
Yeah.
I think he like got better looking over the years.
Yeah.
So I think like now that he's like good looking, now he's famous. So he probably has a little bit of resentment over that
Yeah.
because he's probably like trying to figure out, am I famous because I'm funny?
Or because I'm good looking.
Mm-hmm.
But listen to this.
Oh God.
So what has Matt Rife said about this Netflix special controversy?
Yes, I saw this.
So he took to Instagram on November 20th to respond to the Backlash guys, where he issued a mock apology. He said, if you've ever been offended by a joke I've told, here's a link to my official apology. He wrote alongside and a link that said, tap to solve the issue. When tapped, the link brought followers to a health website where they could purchase special needs helmets, which just upset people further with some accusing him of ableism. Like, again,
Yeah.
like, what are you doing?
So again, the joke was supposed to be like, your what is it like?
You need a helmet to go through life or something.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like,
You're so fragile.
Exactly.
You're so,
Like, what are you doing?
again, not that funny.
No, again, it's just like, these are just not funny jokes. Like,
it's just not funny.
yeah.
Like, again, like I love offensive comedy. Okay. I do.
Yeah,
I really love offensive comedy, but like it has to be funny.
it does. It does.
Otherwise, it's just really uncomfortable. That's
Yeah.
the problem with offensive jokes, right? If it's not hilarious, it's very uncomfortable.
I need to find this show because, like, again, this came up. So I've had a few things. I must have been watching some comedy stuff. Yeah. I
Yeah.
had some comedy things come up on my TikTok. I'm fucking loving it.
Yeah.
One of them is when you take like two, like there was a show, I think it was in the UK, where they had like comedians that like would battle each
Yeah.
other and like would like, you know, they were like friends.
They would like roast each other.
Exactly. And it was so fucking good. And some of the roasts are very, very controversial,
Yeah.
but they are fucking hilarious.
That's what I mean.
Because they're like so good. And then like, so that one I love. This one is less controversial, but some of the stuff was pretty like, it was like, I wish I knew what the show was called. Somebody probably knows. I can't remember. But basically, this lady was like pulling names out of or like things out of a hat.
Yeah.
And it was like ad-libbing. So it was like these guys and she
Okay.
would come and get involved and it
Yeah.
would be like, she'd like read it out and they'd have to ad-lib. She's like, things you could say about a restaurant that you can't say about your partner.
Oh yeah. This is whose line is it
Right,
anyway?
that show. Yeah.
Oh, I loved that show. That was
fucking-
such a good show.
And some of it was pretty racy and
Yeah,
controversial.
yeah.
But again, it was funny.
And it wasn't just like offensive for no reason.
No,
Right.
exactly. It wasn't like, oh, well, if she had a black eye, she should have cooked a sandwich. People are like, okay, next. Like, what are you talking about? So
God, it's so dumb.
it is. It really is.
Come on, you have a Netflix special. You've got millions of followers, and that's the joke you came up with.
I know. That's what you
Come
decided to do for your
on.
Netflix special.
Like, have you watched the Ali Wong Netflix special.
I haven't seen it. No.
Oh my god,
is it actually good?
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Like the first time I watched, I like died. Okay, it's so funny. And again, she has very offensive jokes.
I'm gonna watch it tonight.
Yeah, please watch it. Get high and watch it.
I was gonna watch.
What else is the option?
I was gonna watch Saltburn though as well.
Ooh.
But I don't know if I'm gonna have time. It's already like 9, and I have to
so watch the Netflix special because it's shorter.
Like an hour.
I think it's shorter.
They're usually like an hour.
Yeah. Oh my, it's so funny. Like, and again, she makes offensive jokes. Like she'll be like, basically her ex-husband now, but like at the time she was married. One of the jokes was like, she and her husband, they're both like half. They're both Asian, fully Asian, but they're half of one type of Asian. And she's like, we're both half fancy Asian and half jungle Asian. Like that's fucking offensive. But it was like the way she delivered it was like hilarious. Like nobody got upset. I mean, maybe some people did, but it wasn't like a huge thing.
Yeah.
Because it was like funny.
Yeah. Again, if it's a funny joke and it's not like stupid, and you're right, the funniness outweighs the offensiveness.
This is just like something you would say, I don't know, like at a frat party, like,
I know,
go make a joke, go make me a sandwich.
Oh god,
it's just so not funny.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, Matt Rife, guys, what do you guys think? Do you think he's funny? Do you think he's good looking?
Do you think he's hot? Is he?
He's also had some like other controversy, like for example,
plastic surgery.
So like a lot of people are speculating he had plastic surgery. I don't think it really matters.
Who cares?
But like somebody, like, oh my god, again, he also can't take a joke, which is hilarious. So basically, I guess there was a big famous, I don't know, like some plastic surgeon on TikTok. He has like his own clinic.
Is it the Asian guy?
No.
Okay.
He's like there's a lot of like plastic surgeons. Like everyone's on TikTok because they're trying to promote their business.
Yeah.
So I guess there's just one plastic surgeon, and maybe he's like a celebrity plastic surgeon, and he again, he does random TikToks to like promote his business. Yeah. And he did this one TikTok, and it was like he didn't name anybody. Yeah. And basically the text was like, it's a TikTok of him like running to like some music or whatever, and the text is like, oh, when you give your celebrity client the best jawline of their life and then they get canceled or something like this. So everyone thought he's talking about Matt Rife because like literally the timing was like this. Yeah. But again, he never mentioned Matt Rife. Yeah. Never mentioned anybody. Yeah. And then Matt Rife, I guess, commented and said something like, oh, you know, like defamation of
character.
Defamation is illegal or something so stupid. I'm like, okay, you can't take a joke.
And this is the worst thing, guys. Honestly,
don't double down.
The best, exactly. Don't double down. We've talked about this before, guys. But also, the best comedians in life are ones that can also roll with the punches.
Exactly.
And they make fun of themselves. And if there's like a controversy, they'll laugh it off.
Like I would have, maybe if you were funny, you would have been like, oh, I'm sending you my, like, I don't know, like whatever. Like make a joke about it. Like add on to it. Like,
exactly.
Or just ignore it.
Yeah.
But he like cannot ignore it. Like he is so butthurt.
I think he's just like really like.
He's just really insecure.
Insecure, yeah.
He's really insecure. And yeah, like I don't know how he became so famous. I genuinely don't know.
I know, because I mean, like I said, I don't want to knock anyone. Like I'm not knocking people's looks. Like he is a good looking guy. Yeah. But like, am I like is he like so good looking that I feel like he could get catapulted into fame? You know what I mean?
Well, apparently he is.
Apparently.
Like I think it's because he's a comedian.
Yeah.
Like I think if he was like trying to be an actor, this would not work. His face would be okay, just like any other face in Hollywood. Yeah. But again, because comedians are generally not known for being super good looking. Yeah. He's one of the few relatively decent looking. I mean, let's be honest. Okay. Yeah.
True.
Okay. And maybe when you're good looking, you're just not funny.
Yeah. And on that positive note, guys.
Thank you so much for listening. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you guys think of any of the things that we talked about in the comments if you are watching this on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you thumbs up this video. Of course, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/the SaVeg Podcast. Exclusive content, ad-free content, content a week before everyone else. Yeah. What else, Daniel?
And also, if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, don't forget to hit follow, because then you get updated every single time the new episode goes live.
Yeah. All right, guys. Happy holidays.
Oh, yeah. Have a great Christmas and New Year's.
And we probably caught you after, but still.
Doesn't matter.
Happy holidays.
Exactly.
Happy New Year's. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.